to Texas!
He's a 10.
I choose this family.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 18 of 911 Lone Star Roundup. I'm one of your hosts, Katie, and with me are my lovely co-hosts, Grace.
Hey guys.
And EJ.
Hey everyone.
Today we'll be talking about season 2, episode 7 of Lone Star, titled Displaced. Just a reminder, we won't be recapping the episodes. We will more so be talking about them per usual. Let's get to talking.
Alright,
yeah.
So
This
Gwen
episode.
and Owen opening scene.
Yeah, boxes everywhere. I was just like, whoa. Like, I knew she was moving in, but I was like, where did all this shit come from?
Oh my gosh, and they're arguing.
Yeah,
It's just like,
about like
I didn't mind the arguing necessarily because it was more like playful banter almost.
yes,
But then they take it seriously.
yeah,
And I'm just going to put this as a preface to the entire episode. I felt sorry for Owen during so much of this.
oh
Yes,
yes.
same here.
Like, okay.
It was, yeah, literally. I was just like, oh boy.
But I think it's a typical issue that most couples have, especially if they've lived on their own for such a long time that they have their own stuff and it's hard to pick and choose who's keeping what of theirs and getting rid of the others.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's but they're 50, by now
Yeah.
they're set in their ways. They enjoy their things and yeah.
Could you imagine?
Yeah.
Like, it probably wasn't the same deal necessarily, but could you imagine, like, Owen and TK trying to, like, reserve their space?
Oh, gosh.
Yes. Oh.
Just because, for one thing, TK is the slightly saner byproduct of the two of them.
Yeah.
But he's still, like, I could see several, like, turf tug of wars. Not the same degree of Owen and Gwen, but I
Yeah.
can see some of those.
Yeah.
Honestly, I feel like TK would like anything inside my room, nobody touches, it doesn't go anywhere, and that's my place.
This is my apartment. That isn't actually my apartment, okay?
Right.
Just
He's
let
like,
me
"I'm
live
only
like
here-
a normal 26-year-old.
I'm only here until Carlos and I move in together.
Yeah, pretty much.
TK is like literally, well, TK's 26, I'm 25, so I feel like a TK, like living under my parents' roof, but being like, yeah, I need to get out of here.
Right.
That's me right now. Like,
Yeah, I think,
what is it?
yeah, I feel like everyone lives with their parents and they're like an adult feels like that, whether if you're 18 or you're like in your mid-20s, you're just like, okay, I need to like get my own place away from you people. Sorry, love you, but bye.
Right.
I love you better from a distance.
Yes. Oh, I had that for a good minute.
Lockdown has enforced that.
Oh, yeah.
Let me just say.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so we get into the big suspenseful
Yeah. This
scene from the trailer.
Yes. This one was kind of like not a letdown, but I don't know. Like I kind of like knew, like we kind of already had an idea. I mean, I thought the scene was going to be bigger than it actually was, I think is what the problem was.
It was over too soon.
Yeah.
Like, it was made such a big deal out of.
Yeah.
Like, I can't say that necessarily, but it was the majority of the trailer.
Yeah.
It was the big rescue.
Yeah, I guess I was just maybe thinking there'd be more investigating, more like to it, and it was just like pretty simple. It was like a good scene. I did like it. Like the body falls from the sky and hits the casket. The funniest part of this whole thing is when like TK's checking out the guy and he's like, I don't have to check out the other guy, do I? And Tammy's like, no, I think we're good.
Yeah, that guy's
I'm like, TK, he's dead. He is dead.
Like, I love the third.
Yeah. And like,
because like honestly, that sounds like me. Just like, we don't have to do anything
Yeah.
with him. Like, he's already done. Just making sure.
And like, I kind of liked Owen being like, yeah, probably a stowaway and stuff, and like basically going off of like everything he knows about things like that, and like
I don't want to going, yeah, okay, you're not near JFK.
yeah, but like
anymore.
I liked it because usually like that's something Jed would do, is just like be like, yeah, this and that, and like Owen was like, hey, I know about this, but like yeah,
it's like, Competence.
it was just
Knowledge.
and I kind of figured. Well, in the promo, they did say it was a stowaway, which I got after probably the third time watching because I didn't really pay attention. But that doesn't matter. And so I was like, okay, like I already knew like everything was gonna happen.
I wasn't sure about I wasn't sure about the situation of the fingernail and everything. I'm like, okay, what's that about? But, like, that was so sad. Like, the ending. Because, like, she didn't even want to be there. And now her brother, which is why she was there, is dead.
Like,
it's like...
Yeah, and I love that Carlos was on scene. So we got to see Carlos more or less working with Owen, kind of as lead, as the captain. And we got to see TK kind of for the first time as a paramedic officially.
Like competent boy.
Yeah. So those were some cool moments.
Yeah.
I mean, I felt bad for the family who's sitting there, laying to rest their family member, and all of a sudden this person falls from the sky.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, the pastor, the minister, the father, I was like, he's like, holy crap. I was like, I feel like a lot of people would probably have done that in that situation.
Yeah, I mean,
that's like rare.
Yeah. What else were you gonna say?
Yeah. But yeah, it was definitely over too soon. And I felt bad for because they obviously have to kind of figure out plane he came from, and then they end up finding his sister, which comes out, and when they do finally rescue her and get her back.
And like we know that's not going to end good for her because she was trying to sneak in illegally, so likely she's going to get deported or something like that. It's like she may want to go back, but it's just it isn't.
Well, when Owen got her out of the plane, it looked like her hands were tied. So honestly, I'm like, did her brother force her to go?
No, I didn't think that because
honestly, I did not see the hands tied thing.
I feel like you're on basically the bottom of the plane. Like they're not gonna fall out per se. Well, kind of. But he did. But I feel like maybe he wasn't as secured as she was, so he probably tied her to. That's probably what it was. He probably tied her to there so she didn't fall out.
Yeah.
But they obviously wanted to
Though, okay, little thing there. If she was tied up, how was she hanging on to him?
Don't know.
I don't know. Maybe I don't know.
Little detail there.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't think much of it.
Yeah.
Maybe they were tied to the same place, and she was trying to grab his arm from there. But I don't know. I just thought that I'm like, wait, see, I didn't even know her hands were tied.
Yeah, it was very quick. Because at first, it makes sense that they tied themselves down to keep them from falling.
Yeah.
And then they didn't realize that door was going to open where the wheels were. Mm-hmm. So then he falls.
Yeah.
Maybe before he could get himself secured. But yeah, and then she wakes up after TK and Tommy kind of get her back, because they always say you're not dead until you're warm and dead when you're hypothermic like that. Mm-hmm. So once they get her temperature back up and she wakes up, she's like, I want to go back. I don't want to be here. I was like, oh, I felt bad.
Yeah, sad, but I think unfortunately realistic.
Yeah.
And that's kind of depressing.
And then I think this is the point where we see Gwen and Owen fighting over things again. And
they're talking about Marlon Blendo.
The blenders. Those blenders
I
was like, those blenders don't look that good, compared to what they were saying. I don't know. But yeah, the blenders, the rugs, the this and that. And I was just like, okay. And then the bowl is brought up, and one thing that I actually like of yours.
The one thing?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah. She's like, yeah, no. We can let this go.
That's going to storage.
Yeah. And
I'm like,
I knew
she was so not
I knew it was from at this moment I was like, okay, that is definitely from an ex. Come on now.
Yeah, there's not much of an other explanation for it. I'm not sure if at this moment I necessarily picked as an ex. I was just kind of like, well, dang girl. But really, in my opinion, there wasn't much else to option wise.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but I think it kind of goes back to what I said earlier. They're two adults that are set in their ways and like what they like, and they're being stubborn, both of them.
Very much so.
Yes,
and I get it.
Yeah.
Owen's got his stuff and moved down to Texas, and now she's moving all of her stuff. And at the beginning, I loved her comment about, well, I hoped you'd be on shift and I'd be able to get this all done and switched out before you got home. And I was like, oh, I'm so glad that didn't happen.
Also, can we just appreciate the running theme of the otter sloth tea drink?
Yeah, the tea. Yeah. That was funny.
It was supposed to be a sloth, but I'm like, okay, relatable. And when Owen kept saying otter.
Yeah, and then I loved at the end too. He's like, I don't drink otter pee. It's not an otter. It's sloth.
He's like, and she's like, sloth pee.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah, so after this scene, we get to Tommy at her house with her daughter Evie and her husband, and she's trying to help her daughter practice for her black belt test. And her daughter's like, "Why do I have to be up early if?" And her sister's not up yet. And...
Oh, yeah.
You know, I've been having complicated emotions with like the Vega scenes lately.
Same. Yeah, we talked about this before.
We've talked so much. I was like, I figure it deserves a little mention on the podcast because I don't know if anybody else is getting.
Yeah, no, we've talked about this like personally, but not on the podcast. That's why I'm like, oh yes, let's do this.
Yeah. Yes, like I like Tommy. Generally, I like her. She's pretty solid. She's pretty nice. Like. I don't love her as much as I did when she first came on, but I like her.
Yeah, and she's a good...
The scenes are both underwhelming and too much.
Yes, that's how I felt. I was like, man, I really hope...
It's a perfect description.
Literally. Yeah.
And the thing is, I like the family.
Yeah, me too.
I like the husband. Like, the husband seems really nice. The girls are sweet. She appears to be a great mom and wife.
Yeah.
But the drama.
It's a lot. Yeah. And, like, it's not that I don't like her family, but I almost feel like they're, like, saying, oh, she's a mother. She's this. She's that. And, like, they want us to, like, love the family. And, like, I like them, but, like, I don't want her family shoved down my throat and, like, shoved in my face.
Honestly, I think the problem with that is the only like part of Tommy's life we're really seeing that isn't the paramedic side. Like, we don't know what she likes. We don't know her favorite boba drink, even though I'm sure that TK knows by this point. We don't know anything about her. It's paramedic and morning mom, basically. Even though morning isn't quite the right word since like there's no death, but in a way she's kind of grieving.
And I think it's so hard to explain. So I like Gina Torres. I think she's an amazing actress. She's an amazing actress in this show, and I'm glad she's on the show. But I feel like they brought in her, which gave her a husband and 2 kids, which is cool. But now, aside from a few scenes with her as a paramedic, we're getting all this family stuff. Honestly, I'd rather have more Tarlos scenes. And Tarlos was established in season 1. And yet she came in season 2. And we've gotten almost every episode. There's been at least 2 scenes with her and her family.
Yes. Oof.
And I have nothing against the family. And it's completely family stuff. Like, I get it. Like, family struggles with it. And
it's a valid, valid thing. And, you know, I was at the front. I was sticking up for the storyline because it was like, this is a real thing, but it's being overworked.
Right, and then we barely get one little scene in this episode specifically of Tarlos. It's like, man, I would like to see their blossoming relationship and not just assume that it's happening. Whereas Tommy and her husband have been married for at least 10 years and have 2 daughters who are 8 and they are into stuff. And I get it. You know, in the beginning we did have the issues with, you know, Tommy felt a little out of it because, you know, her husband took the kids to school and she didn't get to say goodbye to them. And she'd been doing it for the last 8 years. So it was just so hard for her. So we already kind of got that. And then to have this basically come up again with, well, I'm missing their, you know, black belt test and all this. It's like, okay, we've kind of already, you know, traveled this path. So I don't know. I feel like it's getting to be too much.
Honestly, I feel like at this point, it wasn't like in the episode, this was not the point where it was getting too much.
Right.
We'll talk about this later, but at the point where like she gets turned away from the black belt thing, I gotta be honest, I was kind of pissed for her.
Yeah, in that moment I was.
Because like, ouch.
Because here she wanted to be here, her husband knew that, and her daughter, and yet, we'll talk about it.
And that she wasn't welcome.
Yeah, I just...
It was like... Yeah. So that's the point where I was like, okay, I want a happy ending to this.
So I do feel for her, and I feel for the situation. I just feel like this scene was okay, but then as we got several other ones, and then her talking to Grace about it later, and it's just, so we had quite a bit on this one specific topic, and I'm like, okay.
I'll be honest with this. The show knows what the fans want, and what the fans want is Tarlos. At this point, we are basically at one Tarlos scene per episode, when a lot of the other characters and couples.
Oh yeah,
not so
I
much
was
Judd
about
and
to say
Grace,
that.
but like we're still getting much more of them. And I'm like, I really hope it steps up its game soon, because I feel like we're going to come out the season. I'm going to look back. I know I'm going to look back with like great things to say, but I'm going to be underwhelmed by the amount of Tarlos. The quality is amazing. The quantity is
my
sucking.
thought on that, and I feel like, you know, we're going into the winter finale soon.
Mm-hmm.
So I my thought is, you know, because a lot of series will do this, like the first half they'll focus on like one revolving storyline with maybe one or two characters, and then like that'll kind of fizzle out by the middle of the season, and then it'll transition to something else. So we might get more Tarlos later on. So
yeah, maybe hopefully.
Yeah. So I'm just thinking like right now they're kind of focusing more on Tommy and her family, and then Owen and Gwen and their kind of drama situation with the pregnancy. So and then, you know, that may come to all of that might come to a head in episode 8.
I'm so excited for episode 8. Let's just
so
state that right here.
I'm trying to give them the benefit of the doubt. But yes, I definitely would. I hope that they could balance things out a little bit more in the show, just to give us a little bit more of, like, I would have even been okay with like another scene with like Nancy coming over to Carlos's, where Marjan, Paul, and Mateo are hanging out with TK and Carlos, or some, you know, because that's something Carlos brought up. So just, like, even just one more scene with the fire fan. Granted, what happened in the episode was great too. I won't knock that, but
yeah, it was all great. Just
could use some more.
And we can continue talking about this later.
Yeah. We
will,
I'm sure.
yeah.
Oh yes.
And then like, and then we have basically like Nancy going through the rig and seeing that everything's been rearranged, and I'm like, oh no. And then like TK basically busting chops with the fire crew, because now he can be like just like
now we get to tease
it was just like my favorite line in this whole thing was when he was like, or Paul was like, how about you go practice CPR in a dummy or something, huh? And TK's just like, just let me know when you're available, Strickland.
He's like, I'm dummy now. He passed one test now. I'm a dummy. I'm like, I love the teasing.
And like the other one that was funny was like, your rag work's looking a little streaky there, Mateo. And he's like, I'll show you streaky.
Like, what does that even mean?
I have a few ideas.
So all not safe for podcasts.
I mean, who's to say that it's not safe?
Yeah, I did love that, and you know, I'm glad to see the team supporting TK's transition.
Yes.
Like, and
this is the biggest thing. I was worried about losing the fire fan element with TK disappearing. But if they keep up with like a little bit of this, then great. Like, I'm officially completely on board now.
On the Firehouse side, I am having a clearer picture of what they're doing with this. Yeah. So yeah.
And then Nancy goes to talk to TK and stuff, and like she says like how like excited she is or whatever to have him on board and stuff like that. And then like she's like, yeah, but you like basically rearranged the rig and stuff. And she's like, didn't I had a system? And TK's just like, yeah, I changed the system.
Well, and even she shared about what thanking him for giving up his seat at the cool kids table to come hang with the science geeks with the
he's like,
peanut allergies.
It's like so adorable.
She said that like, Tim had the theory that the firehouse was like the school, like a high school, and I'm like, I get that. I can see where she's coming from, and Tim too.
Yeah.
But TK's like, I don't see it that way, and I'm like, yeah. So twice TK was told that by two people. The cool kids never did.
Yeah, I'm like, at first I was just like, yeah, like there are definitely situations in life where life feels like high school, but like I don't think every situation is like that. But I definitely know there are situations like that I've definitely experienced that where I'm like, I graduated like 6 years ago and I left it behind me. Why are we like this?
Right.
Oh my gosh, like, okay, you hate high school so much. Why didn't
I
you
know,
just be
yes, it's literally, yeah.
But I was happy to see TK excited, though. I think that was, even though Nancy was kind of like unsure of like all the changes that he made and why he made them, because he's like, oh, I read an article about this.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, I wasn't happy with Nancy during most of the episode because she was acting a little bitchy. And I get why. Like, this is a transition period for her too. But she was
I mean, I didn't really see it.
Yeah,
I didn't really see it totally like that. Like, I see that view, but I don't see it completely because, like, if you're new, which technically he's not new, but he also is new because he's never been a paramedic in this house, and
he's new to that particular team.
And like, if you come in and just rearrange anything without telling. Well, he did technically mention it to Tommy, and she kind of... I have a feeling that he just told her, and she's just like, oh, cool, you read an article, and, like, he just went had to do it. So he's like, stepping on toes, but, like, he did it in, like, a cute, like, trying to be efficient way, so you can't really get mad at him.
No. I'm not talking about this scene. I'm talking about the episode in general. Like, they were friendly, and I'm like, okay, I like this power
She
team.
was very prickly at the beginning.
She was prickly.
And I understand why, because she was, he changed things. She was gone, so we don't know exactly how much time passed between, the end of last episode and this one. But it seemed like she'd been out for a couple of weeks because of her foot, which we know got broken in the last episode. Yeah. So he'd been working with Tommy directly, for just him and Tommy, for a couple of weeks, maybe. And
which sounds like it was a bit of a bonding experience.
Right. So then Tommy and him got kind of in their own system, which Nancy hadn't been a part of yet. So this was also, so she was kind of maybe a little jealous too.
I don't know. I don't think it was jealousy per se, but I think it was more like...
I feel like it was a little bit resentment.
I could see that.
Not even that. Like, if somebody came in my job and started changing everything, I think I would be a little irritated because you're used to, like, one thing and then, like, somebody, like, changes everything you're used to. It's a hard adjustment.
Like, I can get her reasoning behind it, and maybe, like, me calling her bitch is a little harsh or something, but the attitude irked me. Like, the looks, the entire attitudes, they just irked me throughout the episode. I'm like, yeah, I get you're struggling, but you're not giving much grace to TK right now. Like,
yeah,
I know. This was not my favorite episode with her in it. Even though this was technically, like, probably the most we got of her in it.
Yeah, it's probably...
Yeah. Then right after this, we get a scene, a call where a nurse not of that area in the hospital was taking a patient from the ER to the to get an MRI done. Went to the wrong room, walked into an active MRI, which is a very high-powered magnet, and gets sucked up into it.
And okay, so the doctor there referred to him as that idiotic pediatric nurse, and I'm like, oh no, what else has he done? Yeah, because obviously he's got a little bit of reputation, and also he should know his danger sign.
Yeah, I literally rewatched that part, and I was like, how did you not know? And I was like, there's a sign right there, but like I can understand, like he was looking for the right room, and then he found it, and then he just walked in.
Yeah, you don't think much beyond that.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I don't necessarily, like, that was a horrible mistake, but it was a mistake.
Yeah, right. I loved, like, seeing, like, how much of the team had metal in their body. Like, that was...
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, they just put a plate in my foot, screw in my wrist, roller derby fall. Pin in my elbow, motorcycle crash. Got a few screws in my knees.
Like, and I loved when Owen looked at TK and he's like, TK, you got any metal in your body I need to know about? I was like, translation. Son, do you have any body piercings I need to know about?
Ooh.
Which, like, I almost would have loved to have heard yes and, like, gotten a full story on that. Yeah. But, like, obviously that didn't need to happen, and, like, that's not too much of a loss. But I'm like, I loved that. Like, I was cackling at that line. Just because I'm like, and he's like, no, sir.
Yeah. And then Mateo's like, but what about the metal in our uniforms? And Owen's like, I was just getting
see,
And
see,
then
I
I
didn't really think that much through that. Granted, I was probably exhausted when I watched the episode, so I didn't really think that far. But I still didn't think that far, and I was like, oh. They really did that.
Honestly, I'm like, how much metal are we talking about here? Like, take off the badge and take off the name tags. And that should be most of it.
Well, yeah, but I just had a CT scan done and I had a pair of sweatpants, but they had like those little tiny rivets. I couldn't even have those pants on during the CT scan.
Oh, like metallic fibers?
Yeah. So any like buckle or clip or little like rivet that holds like a pocket corner down or something could easily be attracted by the magnet, because it's a high-powered 17 magnet is what the doctor said about the MRI. So that's like pulled that, and that's, I mean, obviously it initially attracted the gurney because that's basically all aluminum. But yeah,
honestly, I just love like the option was stripped down.
Yeah, and I'm like, all the guys go in with t-shirts on, and Tommy goes in a sports bra, and I'm like, really? She didn't have a t-shirt on underneath her uniform?
Maybe she doesn't want to wear one.
I don't know. Yeah.
Honestly, I can imagine that getting hot, like wearing uniform shirt, then a regular shirt. So honestly, I might wear a cami underneath, but I wouldn't really wear a shirt, I don't think. Not unless it was regulation.
Yeah.
Which, if we're wearing a general shirt to begin with, why would it be regulation?
Well, I think usually they take off like their actual uniform shirt and then they just have the regular shirt under. So that's, I don't know.
I was just kind of like, also, nice strand. TK.
Yeah. And then did you?
Now I finally understand why everyone was talking about underwear TK. Like, I saw the photos, but I wasn't sure what everyone was talking about until I saw the episode.
Yeah. And did you see how Nancy was reacting when TK barely said and then like Tommy throws him the collar for the guy's neck? They were talking about the LeBron and something. I can't remember the other player's name, the basketball term that they used. Oh, yeah, because Ronan posted a GIF about it. He's like, I've been waiting weeks to share this.
Oh my gosh. I don't remember catching that instance in particular.
Yeah, I think it was.
But they were, TK and Tommy, working like a well-oiled machine that didn't need all the parts to like communicate. And like, I can kind of understand how that would be irking, especially since, you know, Nancy had worked with her longer, but I'm like, no, not technically. I don't know if technically that would have been right with Nancy being out, but I just appreciated the entire smoothness here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then, I think Nancy made that comment, and then Marjan is what said that about the basketball term, but I was like, oh. Yeah, so she's noticing the little, like you said, the well-oiled machine of TK and Tommy.
Yeah.
She's like, oh. And then, thinking after they rescue the guy and get the machine turned off, that's the end of it. TK helps the woman in the MRI out, and he's like, don't move, and she goes and pulls this piece of metal out of her neck that got stuck during
Doesn't anybody watch enough like shows to know that don't pull out whatever?
That was my first reaction was, why do people always do that in shows? Like, something's in their neck and something's in their body, and their first reaction is always to pull it out. I mean, I kind of understand it because like you don't want it in there, but also like I would think they would start profusely bleeding, so maybe you don't want to do that.
Right.
Exactly. Like it can be safer to have. It's often safer to have the thing in rather than to pull it out.
Right.
Because then you have nothing to stop the bleeding.
Yeah. And then
note for anybody out there, don't pull it out.
Right. I know. Yeah, and then like TK gets covered in blood in his underwear.
Oh my gosh.
He's covered in blood. That was hilarious.
Like, that's the point where I start hoping that like he has an entire spare change, which I imagine he does, because like you need to bring an entire spare change in that job.
Oh yeah.
But that must have been very uncomfortable to get dressed back into.
Oh yes. Oh yeah.
Probably had to change uniforms too. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, probably had to shower at the hospital.
Yeah.
Get all that blood off.
Probably.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
And then we see Owen unloading his stuff at the firehouse, and Judd walks into the middle of it. And
I love how we just moved the stuff that she tossed out, like, into
like
the
he
fire.
would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
Yeah, he
exactly.
would.
My favorite part of this whole thing is like Judd and Owen talking, and Judd's like, "What made you pull the trigger about her moving in?" And he's like, "Not that you need a reason." And Owen's just like, "Why are you giving me this hillbilly grin?" He's like, "Huh?" And Owen's just like, "Did Tommy tell you?" And he's like, "Tell me what, Cap?" He's like, "That we're pregnant." And Judd's just like, "Hell no, Tommy can keep a secret." And he's like, "Then it was TK, that little squealer. I'm gonna put him in bathroom duty for a month." And I'm just like, I love that line. That's my favorite line of like Owen.
I love Judd's
response,
like following
though.
line even better because like, well, you ain't just captain no more. Like, okay,
I
that
love
was
that
well
like
done.
the Strand men always end up talking most of the time. End up talking to Judd about their issues.
And about each other.
I didn't think about that until like 2 seconds ago before I said it. Oh my
Like,
god,
it's so true,
imagine
though.
TK and Carlos have something, like nothing terrible, but like have something and TK going to Judd.
For her relationship
I would
advice.
love that.
Mm-hmm.
I would love that. Can that happen?
Like maybe on the moving in topic. Is it too soon? Wink, wink. No, it's not. Wink,
Oh,
wink.
please. But yeah,
Oh, man.
I loved that.
But-
And like, I loved, so my favorite Judd line was like, "Well, you ain't his captain no more, and besides, I ain't saying who said, but congrats, Cap. I'm fired up. We're gonna have a new little Texan running around," and I love that line so much. Yeah, that was cute.
Oh my gosh.
So he's excited to have another Texan around. Why couldn't it be
That's
Grace
what I
and
was
Jesse?
just thinking.
Right?
Come on, I
Like,
want
come on.
Grace.
There's going to be some build up to this. Like, there's something else going on behind there. But it's like, okay,
Yeah.
just get to
We
it already,
know
please.
Grace wants a baby. Come on, just give it to them.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't imagine
Yeah,
Judd
I can't
not
either.
wanting a baby. I just don't know if it's this thing about him not being ready or what. But we've discussed this extensively before, but I always just go,
Yeah.
hello?
Yes, exactly. And then, like, Tommy's trying to get a good Wi-Fi signal to see the karate test, and TK has ideas.
But
Oh
it's
my
totally
gosh.
legit. Like, it's totally something
Yeah.
that could happen.
First of all, it was like, okay, Nancy had it, was so nice with the Wi-Fi hotspot. Like, that was
Right.
great. TK's ingenious of just going like, well, it's in our zone. Why don't we
Yeah.
just go?
Right.
And, like, I find it so sad that backfired,
Yeah.
like, with Tommy not being able to stay. Because, like, first of all, rude, also.
Yeah, and, like, yeah, and, like, you can tell, like, the whole time that, like, Nancy's just, like, irritated they're, like, going, and that, like, maybe it was TK's idea.
I think that she finally, like, when she was able to provide the hotspot, like, she may have felt on, like, an even keel again. And then TK came up with a brilliant new plan, which was brilliant. I'll give him up with that. But, like, I can kind of objectively understand, like, that is a little frustrating.
Yeah.
Again, kind of stepping on her toes, and you know, but he had the heart to help. Like, he wanted to help Tommy, and I get what TK meant. I mean, like, he's like, well, it's in our zone, so he's like, he points to the ambulance, and he's like, that's work. So as long as because he tried to explain it as, well, if we were at a taco stand park having lunch, and it just happened to get a call,
Exactly.
we take the call. So if you're at the dojo and we get a call, we can just take the call.
Yeah, exactly. And, like, it was so cute seeing him, like, be like, like, they're like, oh, we should have taken this route, and TK's just like, we'll get there, and he turns on the sirens, and Tommy's just like, that was not the sirens that I heard.
He's like, 2 words, Cap, plausible
deniability.
And I was like, cackling.
That was so good.
Just because I'm like, okay, the boy has balls to be able to, like, just waltz in there and do that.
Okay, and we got to make a point. He can drive, because he's driving the ambulance. Because there's
it's not like a tank like the fire engine.
Well, no, I just mean because we've never physically seen him driving a car in the series.
That's
so
true.
I mean, there's a lot of fan fiction authors, and it's fine either way. But a lot of people like saying he constantly is taking an Uber, or he doesn't know how to drive because he never needed to drive in New York. So just saying like he's driving the ambulance,
people
so he can drive.
People putting out stereotypes.
He can drive.
I mean, it is like decently true, but like.
No.
Plus, he's
and then Tommy gets there.
Awkward.
And it was like,
I'm sorry.
Basically, her just being shooed out and told that her daughter doesn't want her there. It's like
that hurts. Yeah,
ouch.
I felt so bad for her though because you can tell the second you see the ambulance pull up and her daughter looks out the window. Her daughter looks so annoyed, like, "Oh, mom's here," and like. Oof.
Yeah.
Like, I can understand that, like, if you had, like, one parent home, you're gonna cling to that parent and stuff.
But you'd also think it'd make you want to see the other one a little bit more. I know, that's not a foolproof, like, thing.
I feel like, I don't know, like, it's hard to say because, like, they did, like, grow up with I'm assuming their mom being there every day of their life, and now the dad's there, so I don't know, I'm trying to, like, connect it, because, like, my mom was home for my brother's whole time of life, but she wasn't home for the whole time of my life, so that was a little different, so I'm, like, trying to think, but I don't know, like, it's just, like, I don't know.
I think I appreciated that, like, Nancy and TK were kind of on the same page of just going like, okay, that doesn't look good. Yeah. Like, they immediately were like, oh no, what happened? Like, there was just something about that little moment that I was like, oh, yeah, we're at least somewhat on the same page here.
I know, so sad. I was like, aw. And, like, just seeing, like, I don't know, it's just so heartbreaking to watch. Because, like, I do feel bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, legit, like, it's upsetting, and, you know, here she was, like, it was a great idea to come, and her daughter didn't want her there, and that, you know, of course it's gonna hurt, and I feel bad for her.
Yeah.
You know, I think the kids are still getting used to the fact that mom's around, and maybe mom has always been a little tougher on certain things, and it seemed like mom was very, what was the, like, dojo mom, or something like that, you know, like they say, like
a dance mom. Yeah, she kind of gave me, like, the dance mom, like, teen mom vibe, and I was just like, ooh, I'm cringing right now at the thought. Like, I'm just like, oof.
Yeah. So the daughter's like, I want to, you know, wants to get the black belt, but she's like, her mom's stressing her out, which, you know, it's possible. So mom's just got to, you know, take a chill pill, and, you know, it's not that her daughter loves her.
That's probably why her daughter didn't want her there, because she knows that she's so, like, controlling over the fact of it. So that's probably why.
But that was also, like, extremely poorly communicated. It's like,
well, yeah, Charles kept trying to drop hints during the conversations, but she wasn't picking up on the hints he was trying to give her without coming out and saying it. But he should have realized she wasn't getting it, and he should have said something to her prior to her showing up.
Yeah, honestly. Yeah. But then we get the best thing ever, which was the Tarlo scene.
Oh yeah, like the best.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, I think the gosh.
Best
scene of the season.
Oh, hell yeah.
I was like, what?
Yeah,
I agree.
Oh, I
don't
would.
know if I'd go quite that far, but it's
I would
definitely one
I don't know.
of the best.
Like, for me,
like, their makeup scene in season 4 would probably be the only one that triumphs over this one.
But, like, I don't know. This was just like everything that I was needing.
Well, and especially Raphael's tweet.
Yeah.
About. He's like, Carlos and TK were doing a few things inappropriate right before this. I'm like, did you mean TJ?
Oh my god.
Just.
Oh my gosh, they're never going to live it.
Like, I don't know when people are joking when they say TJ blah 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 blah, and I'm like, I don't know if you're being, like, you're joking or if you're being serious. But yeah, a lot of people were like, I feel like Ronan hyped this scene up too much, and I'm like, I don't think so.
Hype it up enough.
No. For one thing, we got it.
Right.
Which a lot of people were already throwing shade. Like, we won't get it. And it's like, you don't
comments.
know that.
Like, don't say that until, like, after. And, like,
it was 2 instances in one episode.
Yeah,
and
people just really know how to hold a grudge. Maybe you should let that go and let that free. Just a little advice. some little unsolicited advice. But anyways,
You never asked, but here it is.
Honestly, I am still a little upset about the kisses being cut, but I'm grateful we at least got those scenes, whereas we didn't just see the whole scene and have it get cut like in episode 5 of season 1. Yeah. So I am still bummed that we didn't get the kisses in episode 1, but
I would have loved if we had gotten them, especially since we haven't had like an actual kiss this far. But honestly, in another way, I'm okay with that because we've had basically every other form of non-explicit intimacy between them, like cuddles and head kisses and everything. It's like, I'm certain we'll get a kiss at some point in this season.
Well,
but it's like we're still thinking stuff.
And this scene right here is one we got quite a bit. You know, they're snuggled up on the couch together. TK is kind of frustrated with work and now starting to wonder if he made the mistake of changing to be a paramedic. Because Nancy and him aren't really getting along, or he's feeling the tension. Carlos is kind of being there, but also trying to be devil's advocate.
Oh yes.
Yeah. Like, I love it. He's not giving TK bullshit about anything. Like, he's being a loving, supportive boyfriend. Wow. Boyfriend.
Yeah.
See, I'm tired. I got 2.5 hours of sleep last night. That not working. But he's also, like, he's cutting the crap. He's just like, that this is how I see it, and... Like, I see both sides,
like,
and both sides are valid.
It's definitely good in any situation like this to have an outsider's perspective, because Carlos was never there. Like, he doesn't know, like, what it's like or how, and TK, like, has that space to, like, talk his feelings, but Carlos isn't gonna always agree with him. He's gonna tell him how it is, which I love.
Well, what kind of relationship would it be if they agreed all the time?
I
Boring!
can think, yeah, exactly. My favorite part about this whole thing is, like, Carlos being like, "You sure about that?" And Tika's like, "Yes," and he's like, what about
yeah.
That's my favorite part.
What was that?
So, yeah, he I liked it because not only did he listen to TK, like, admit that he was, you know, he shared that he was listening by responding to him, but he also didn't hesitate to be honest with him and call him out on the issues that TK's not quite seeing yet.
And TK listened. Like, he was accepting of it, even though he was struggling in scene. And honestly, I feel like maybe it was an honest mistake.
It was.
Like, it was none of it was meant maliciously, but that's why he needed a little bit of help.
Yeah, because TK had shared with Carlos what Nancy had said about her and Tim having the theory about the high school, and firefighters were the jocks that, you know, could do whatever they want, and the paramedics were the science geeks. And Carlos like, life is high school.
But I also gotta be like, technically it's not exactly true. Like, in maybe the most basic of terms, but on the jocks team, you have a gay guy, a transgender guy, a dyslexic guy, and a Muslim woman. That does not exactly fit into the stereotype of jocks.
That's how I feel. And, like, I also don't necessarily always agree that, like, life is high school, because I think there's people in life that make life seem like high school, or people that act like life is high school, but life isn't always high school. Like, I get where he was going with that.
I feel like this was a little bit more of a loving, amazing, but still slightly dysfunctional family. Like, the cousins got a little left out of the siblings game.
That's a good point.
Just because they were all used to playing together.
Yeah, definitely. And
so,
yes.
And I also like how, like, in the beginning of the scene, like, TK's basically laying in Carlos's arms, and then in the end, same. And then
like,
the Carlos switches. I loved that so much.
Well, he kisses his cheek again.
That's all I needed is that, like, kiss on the cheek. Like, that's all I needed, honestly.
Like, you could tell TK was, like, a little miserable right then, just being like, oh no, and of course beating himself up. And I just loved how, like, Carlos didn't push it any further or anything like that. He was just like, let him process and gave him comfort and something to hold on to.
Yes,
like,
honestly.
Couple goals. I'm trending that on Twitter.
Couple goals.
After we get off this. Couple goals.
I will boost that. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I remember.
And then we got Tommy and Grace, which I do prefer if we are gonna get, like, a personal Tommy scene to get like Tommy and Grace, because I actually do like exactly.
Oh, I love that power duo.
Yes,
like
love it. And like she's basically just like venting about like, you know, like the whole dojo thing, blah blah blah, and like how the girls seem to be like clinging to their dad. And like the my favorite part of this whole scene was Tommy being like, I prayed every night that he was going to do well. And Grace was like, well, look at God, Tommy, he answered your prayers. Charles is doing well. She's like, yeah, I wish he wasn't doing so damn well.
Yeah.
That's like every
like
parent.
also mood.
Yeah, that's every
like
parent.
relatable.
Like,
Yeah.
they leave and then like the baby doesn't cry or something.
Yeah. And it's like, ugh. Yeah. But I love getting these scenes with them, and it's definitely a good thing. I feel like Grace is a really steadying presence, because she's not a mom, but she gets it.
Well, she's been a firefighter's wife for several years.
Yeah,
and so
exactly.
Yeah. So she, in a way, she can kind of give the other perspective of that, even though she isn't, like, as I said, she isn't a mom, but she is married and very knowledgeable of what goes on in the world. So
yeah, and she may have experienced it too with the previous 126 members, you know, Colleen and her daughter and other family members, you know.
Oh yeah,
seen that situation happen before.
Yeah, and then we get the Owen and Gwen. Okay, so
dun, dun, dun.
oh my gosh, that's when the drama like did a mic drop and then did a freaking tango on top of it.
This was gonna happen. I was like, I think that's what that means, because she's like, oh, and we need to talk. What else would you be talking about? Like, come on now. And like, I was kind of like, I wasn't surprised, but I was like, I knew it. Like, why would you say that? Like, it had.
Yeah. I know my friend
I
and
never
I were texting
really
about it, and we're like, we had a feeling it was not going to be his.
I've like had an undergoing feeling this entire time, like, that it's a strong possibility, at least, that this wasn't his.
Yeah, well, we talked about it before.
And it's been a main thing, even though it's not been something necessarily forefront in my mind. And the whole, oh, we need to talk thing, I was like, okay, is she getting called back to New York? Is she, like, is something wrong with the baby? Though I doubted it being said quite that way. But I don't think I necessarily suspected the circumstances that this turned out to be. But I wasn't necessarily... I was surprised and also completely not surprised by the fact that it was potentially not his. And I'm like...
Yes. So basically...
if this turns out like the way it seems to be turning out, I think I'm going to wonder, like, do physical harm to Gwen.
Yeah, I was not happy. Because, I mean, okay, so we find out... So they thought she was 16 weeks along. She's actually 18 weeks along. Which I think...
Yeah, so she's an extra month along.
So... She's an extra time long, which then find out that she had been with a guy after Owen and her got divorced in New York. She started dating a guy named Enzo, who then she was with for 15 years and only recently broke up with.
Which,
and then he visits in Texas while she's there, and they sleep together. I mean, granted, at the beginning, her and Owen weren't like official or anything, but I'm like, really?
In a way, it still almost feels like cheating, though, because it's like... For one thing, she extremely neglected that fact during all of these conversations. And then she's like, wow.
Yeah.
You.
And then she's like, honestly, well, I didn't say anything because it's like I completely forgot about it because it didn't mean anything. And then I feel bad because Owen kind of felt like he's like, oh, so I'm the rebound.
That was rough. Like, I don't really, like, I'm like, well, they aren't like, technically they're dating, but like at the time they weren't, so I can't really put all the blame. But like, I don't know, like I feel like her being like, we're having fun was kind of clue enough that like maybe he's not the only one. But like also I'm just like, and my thoughts were like, okay, this happened, now leave.
Honestly, her reluctance during like the entire process of this is kind of cluing in. Like, that she's not committed to this idea at all. Even if she was just starting to be committed, like, the idea of a baby, she wasn't in the idea of being committed to Owen. And Owen was going in full blast.
Oh, yeah, I feel like at the beginning of the episode, she was purposely making a comment about how the words he was saying. Like, oh, it's that tone. I knew this was going to happen. I'm like, yeah, no, he just woke up after a 24-hour shift. Give him 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But yeah, this was, I mean, and I figured because, you know, we know that Owen went through immunotherapy. We talked about it in a couple of episodes ago that the chances of it being his is, you know, possible, but, you know, the immunotherapy can definitely decrease the effectiveness of, you know, his stuff. And if not, you know, make him infertile. So I kind of, even with that,
honestly, to me, the possibility, like the improbability, rested more on her age than like his immunotherapy. Definitely. But obviously, she was pregnant, so it wasn't her end.
Yeah.
So.
And
and honestly, the idea, if she wasn't already pregnant, which that's the idea is weird, I would not have been surprised if that actually like came through.
Yeah, I mean,
but it was very much already
we know that he's definitely not the father at this rate, but we don't really find out until the very end of the episode.
Yeah, like I held out a sliver of hope, but I'm like, no,
honestly, I figured if they were bringing it up, that it was probably not going to be very good, and not because like why would like maybe they would bring it up and be like, oh, never mind, it is yours, but like then I was like, no, exactly.
What's the point?
Yeah, it would be literally a pointless story bring up if it wasn't not his.
Yeah, and after this scene, like at the end of it, at least Owen's like, so what do we do? And she pulls out a cup out of his mouth. She's like, spit in that. And so they're obviously going to do DNA tests. I mean,
same. Wow. I was like,
why was expecting her to say pee
like,
me too. I know, right?
Why was it spit though?
Because, like that's usually done with the
that's not that accurate. I googled it. Okay, I was like, even because I've seen shows where they're like, oh, we can't do a paternity test until the baby's born. So I googled it and I was like, they're like, yes, but it has to be blood. And I'm like, so I was confused.
Yeah, exactly. Like blood's the most effective.
Doesn't matter that much.
Yeah. So then after this scene, we get TK at the firehouse on his day off.
Same.
Probably my second favorite scene of the episode.
Oh, yes.
Like, this was really sweet. Mm-hmm. Just, okay, first of all, I gotta say, no matter any hostility at any point in time, I don't think anyone can actually hate TK.
Yeah.
Like, he's such a sweet baby. I can't picture anybody actually disliking him.
He's got such an awesome heart.
Oh my god, the scene was just like so sweet and powerful, and like I loved when like they walk up and stuff, and like Marjan's just like, "Hey, girl," and I was like, "Oh, I know this."
They're all there. The whole family's there.
Yes, and it looked like everybody except TK, if I remember, was out of uniform, so they all come in on the day off. I remember TK being in uniform. I maybe
I'm like 90% sure they filmed this scene like earlier when they started filming because of this shirt.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'd like to clarify to anybody, I watched the episode once.
I've watched it
so some of the details I'm a little foggy.
Even some details I'm like, I did not catch that. What are you talking about?
Yeah, and also we forgot to mention the earring that TK was wearing in the Tarlo scene. He's also wearing the earring in this scene as well.
To be honest, I noticed it in neither.
It's in both, I promise.
People kept telling me there was something in there, and I'm like, I cannot see it.
There and like stuff to look for. Exactly. And like my major question is like, was that Ronan's idea? Which I have I feel like it was. Yeah, exactly what I was just about to say. I feel like it was because, like, come on, like he wanted that. Okay, yeah. And I love to like TK being like, this is about family and like showing the dedication to Tim and stuff, and having his like last day of call on his like last day for his last call, the date on there.
I like how they said it like last call.
It was like
day of his death.
Better and like they like it. I loved how they kind of like broke it up, and Mateo's like, just make sure we spelled his name right. Yeah,
I learned the hard way.
I started cackling with that. Like, okay, the boy is making jokes on his own expense. Now.
And Nancy got all choked up because she's like, you guys came in on your day off to do this, and to paint all that onto the ambulance. And then TK shared that they changed the name to of the ambulance, and
that scene.
Tim will always be riding with them, which is awesome.
I love it.
So good.
Definitely among the top favorites. Like, so, like, all of the
that's a good
like,
Fire Fam scene right
yes.
there. I mean, honestly, that's
thank you. And then we end on. I wish we could have ended on the happy note, to be honest. But we end on the dramatic, not happy note.
Oh,
and this is where I officially decided that I really do hate Gwen. Like, I had a love-hate relationship with her before
I think your words were like,
but I officially hate her.
Or something like, does it make me bad if I hate Gwen? And I'm like, no, not at all. Oh, yeah. I can't remember these things, but I was like...
Is it socially acceptable?
Oh, yeah.
No, not at all.
Yeah, something like that.
I know.
I was like, okay, I'd like to log
exactly.
And so,
the test, nobody was surprised here, and I'm just like, well, Gwen, time to leave.
Owen wanted to like have that email deleted, like, so they could go in ignorance. So Gwen said that, like, if she does that, Owen will always wonder. I feel like it was more for her sake.
Me too.
Like, I don't doubt it was partially for Owen, like, for that reason.
Well,
but I really feel like it was
I feel like it was for her because, and stuff, like, selfishly, but I also feel like if he didn't find out and he ended up raising this kid, and then, like, he might always wonder, like, is this really my kid? Not that it would, like, if they were happy, not that it would really make a difference.
Yeah.
I feel like he would still be a really good dad, but it would definitely be a question. And definitely would be another ridge in between Owen and Gwen. Not that they need any help in that necessarily.
Well, and there's a lot of amazing men who have stepped up, and even if they found out that the kid that they've raised as their own all their life is not their own biological child, they still raise them the same. So I could see Owen, stepping up, and I think he was trying to by having her delete the email, but like she said, and in some ways, it's always going to be in the back of both of their minds, whether she said it was his mind or her mind. It's going to be in the back of both of their minds. Like, is it whose is it?
Yes.
And honestly, I feel like that was the right decision.
To know for sure.
You have the freaking answer.
I actually feel bad for TK.
Okay, no one has ever said. I've seen nothing about anyone talking about the impact this will have on TK.
Is going to be huge.
And I was the one who brought up in the group chat because I was like, okay, does anyone think about what's going to happen to him? He is so excited for his baby brother, and his family's dysfunctional, but his parents are back together again. It's like, does anyone have any idea that this is going to hit him?
This is going to tear him because he's going to be torn between being excited for his little brother and sad because it's not his dad's, it's only his mom's,
Yeah, it's like, it's now going to be half-brother, which that's fine. There are plenty of great half-sibling relationships, but it's not it's like staggering.
Yeah.
But TK's relationship is going to be different with the kid now, because how's TK going to have a happy relationship with his half-brother if his dad, if it constantly reminds his dad that it could have been his,
gonna be like, I feel like it's going to be hard for TK because he's almost going to have to not like choose between his parents. Like, he's gonna have to like be like there for Owen because like Owen was so excited about having another kid, and now like he's basically been ripped of that, and like I don't really see Gwen lasting past episode 8. Like, I really don't.
I don't either.
I'm expecting her to leave next episode. Like, I'm expecting this.
Too.
I'll be mad, honestly. I don't want her to stay.
Dumbfounded if she stays. Like, okay, why are you bringing this up for any reason other than to shoo her out the freaking door? Like, come on, let's go. Like,
seriously,
I'll shove you on the plane myself. Just go back to New York.
Wow, go Grace.
Like, I'm just kind of like,
yeah,
whoa.
Take your condo off
like,
the
this
market.
is a way of
Take all
violation.
your junk, and you can take your blender back to New York. No, I'm not happy, and they're not gonna last. I mean, there's no way it's gonna. Oh, and especially because once this other guy finds out that he got her pregnant, he's gonna want to step up. Like, okay, they broke up for a reason. Yeah. Also, like, this is a fresh breakup. Mm-hmm. It was rebound sex.
Yeah,
or at least one of them, likely. God, and now there's a baby. And, poor kid. He should have just stayed Owen and Gwen. And then, like, the very end, because Owen is all excited because he switched out, like, his rug and her couches so he could put up that Japanese bowl that was very, like, cracked and stuff. And she's like, no, we're going to put that in, storage.
So he wanted it out because he liked it, and then he realized that, oh yeah, Enzo gave it to her, which is her ex, and he picks it up like he's gonna break it. He doesn't. He puts it back. He's like, no, it's too pretty to break.
I love how he's like restrained. So then he flashes back, grabs it, and just smashes it. I'm like,
yes, that
I was like,
okay,
I was watching
that bull, but also like
I was watching it. I was like,
vindication,
just do it.
But
yeah,
do it. Yeah, and he did.
I was like, I knew he was going to break it because that would have been way too anticlimactic if he hadn't. But I was impressed that he cared so much about the bull that he wasn't going to do it, but then just went, like,
Owen and Gwen
and grabbed and smashed.
Episode description regarding them for the next episode, it says, while Owen and Gwen may not make it to the end of the week as a couple, and I'm like, that is a big giveaway.
Yeah,
she has to be on
though
the
I
way
feel
out.
like that was a twin, so I don't trust them. I don't trust them until we see the episode.
She has.
I'm like, I see no sense in her not being on the way out,
and like
they have paved the way so clearly,
and
that you can't just magic a door
projects. So like she has to be on her way out. Like there's no way.
Honestly, I feel for like the health and like any relationship in that the family to begin with, she needs to leave. Because, for one thing, if TK wants a relationship with both his parents to survive just fine, they need to go.
And it'd be painful
Owen's
seeing,
only
like,
going to grow more resentful as she stays.
Stay and, like, seeing the kid that's not his, like, and stuff.
Yeah. Especially if Enzo decides to pop his.
Oh, I don't think so.
The photo, which I'm really
in my head. Like I'm like, okay, so she goes back to New York.
I don't think so.
And then maybe like there, like at the end of the season, there'll be like a mention like she had the baby or like something like that, or I don't know. But like, goodbye. I was just about to say that.
Bye.
I was literally just about to say that.
Don't let the door hit you on the way out, or do. We don't care.
Or the thing, don't let the door hit you where the good Lord split you. That might be something Jeb would say.
Yes. Oh my god.
So all in all, the episode was really good. There were some elements that I wish I could have had less of, but love the Tarlos.
I give it like a solid 8 out of 10 or something.
I would say that 8. So that's a fair, definitely 8 out of 10.
And
yes,
it was an important transitional episode. And honestly, even though there were some things I would have changed, ultimately, it's like, generally I wouldn't have, because I feel like they were important in their own ways. Probably the only thing I actually would have changed was the whole Vega stuff. Other than that, it's like, everything else was... It may still be important for Tommy later in the future, but everything else was important for the storylines right now.
And stuff. But, like, we know in the last episode, Owen mentioned that he's having his cancer surgery in, like, 2 weeks. So definitely, like, we're gonna probably see that possibly maybe after, like, episode 9. Or I'm thinking, like, depending. But, like, my thought was that, like, Owen's gonna have to, like, now heavily rely on TK.
Honestly, I'm expecting it much sooner because...
I don't.
The time gaps between episodes and everything.
It's
like
not really
that.
technically a hiatus because they're not taking months off. But like
no, I'm talking about general time frame in the episode.
I just don't see it happening next episode because they already have like a lot going on in the episode.
I could see it being a cliffhanger.
Depending what the cliffhanger
like you
is,
don't get all the results
about what the cliffhanger is.
Well, I'm sure
some of them have been extreme.
Shortly.
We will talk about this when we get to the promo.
No,
and I am ready to completely call BS on some of these theories.
I don't really necessarily understand. Like some people were like, I was mad at TK, and I'm like, huh?
For what now?
I know exactly.
We haven't seen the episode. Like, are we talking fan thoughts on this episode or next episode?
Like, I don't.
Why?
Yeah,
he stepped on a couple of toes, but not drastically.
Yeah, like I know,
and he didn't do anything
maliciously
or necessarily
I would
even
never be mad at him. Like, I think what he did, anything TK does, which we've seen this, I think, in 2 instances in this episode, and then also in episode 3. Anything TK does, he does with love and compassion. So, like, I don't get that. Like, people are like, I want to smack TK, and I'm like, there's some other characters I don't get that. There's
no.
Why?
Probably.
Like, are people really caught up in the high school drama part of it? Because Can I come back to you? Sorry.
No.
Don't. Okay. Maybe
Yeah,
cut
maybe
that.
cut
Don't
that,
actually, but I
Katie.
will.
But
Maybe cut that.
yeah, I don't get that. And
But the
like
sentiment is still there.
people are like love Nancy's growth and Tarlos.
I love we're getting more Nancy.
Like, okay, yeah.
Yeah, I do too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I feel like we got really thrust into her storyline at like one of the worst points in her life.
Yeah.
And so I don't feel like we're seeing all of the most
Yeah, I do think
positive
it's
things we could
funny
see.
how people were
But I'm
mad at Owen
enjoying
last
learning more
episode, and
about
this
her.
episode
me
everyone's
too.
like, I'm sad for Owen, and I'm just like,
I was like,
Yeah.
shall I remind you of some of the things she said last episode?
I know. And my friend, I just texted her because she and her one of her friends just are watching it now, and she's like, "Really? Not the father? This is heartbreaking."
Oh my god.
She's like, "No one's allowed
I'm
to
just
hurt
like,
Owen."
shall
That's what she added in.
Yeah. I feel like bringing a bullet point of just being like, okay, what did you say last week? Yeah, shall we compare? Like, okay, yeah, Owen was a little bit of an ass.
yeah,
That one episode, but the hate was taken a little too far. Excuse me?
yeah.
And the extreme
So
turnaround
the
is like,
promo.
oh my gosh, like, a woman calls 911, saying that she's giving birth in a parking garage. And so, obviously, paramedics on the roll, everybody. Though I think...
No, it was
Was Judd there?
Tommy,
I didn't see Owen there.
Nancy, and TK. Yeah, so...
I thought, I'm probably mixing up several
it
different
was
points in the
just,
promo, but
yeah,
I thought I saw
just,
Marjan
yeah,
and Mateo in there.
It was just
No.
them, just because it was a
Okay,
medical
I'm mixing
call.
up a different couple,
And then,
but it was just
you
the
just
paramedic
see the
team, okay.
lady pull, like,
Yeah.
Nancy says, like, she doesn't look pregnant, and the lady basically pulls a gun on them to fix their friend. And there was, like, somebody posted this, I think, on Instagram, a picture, and they're like, it looks like they brought the guy to, Tommy's husband's restaurant, Charles' restaurant, because they know it's empty. And I was like, ooh, that's good.
Yeah, because when you see the guy laying down on the table, then
Exactly.
I think it's definitely a restaurant. You can tell by kind of the stuff that's set up. But they obviously went to a parking garage because, you know, once you're in there, your radios are not going to work. And there's going to be no GPS because, like, those are like cement tombs. You can't, no signal will get in or out. And so, like, we get the 911 call with Grace, or what Grace is calling Owen and saying that they haven't checked in. They've disappeared. They've gone off the grid. And we see Carlos show up at the van. So obviously they put the guy, the injured guy into the ambulance and then took off.
Yeah.
And probably disabled the GPS because, it's not on the grid. We saw that in 911.
And, like,
police
we
cars.
know that...
Same principle with ambulances.
At one point, TK goes to pull the fire alarm. And then the guy knocks him out. Yeah, and then...
literally, that's all I witnessed.
See, in this episode, we know that Carlos is working with his dad, who's a Texas Ranger. But, like, we don't know, like, if they're working on a different case together, if it's this. I highly doubt it's this.
Honestly, I feel like it may be connected.
So do I.
Because that person was injured. They couldn't go to a hospital. That leads to all conclusions that they're wanted for something.
Right.
And so, if they did something, that could be why Gabriel, who's Carlos's father, is on a case. Carlos may be working on it because of the disappearance.
I kind of have a feeling that,
maybe not. Maybe he's just helping out his dad, and they haven't moved it yet.
Carlos gets a call from Owen about this. I also think that this is they're gonna make this part of the episode seem like it's going to be, like, throughout the promo, that it is bigger than it actually is going to be in the episode. I don't think it'll be I think it'll be a big deal possibly, but I don't think it'll be as big in the episode and stuff.
Well, you have to remember, they're going to have a beginning, which may be them going to the call. But there's going to be... I'm expecting there's going to be something before they at least head out. Then you have a whole bunch of other scenes that revolve on whatever is happening with TK and Carlos. Or not TK and Carlos, but Gabriel and Carlos.
Right.
Yeah.
You have so many other things going on there, and you only have an hour episode. So the case, like the whole disappearance thing, may be prevalent during most, but it's not going to be the only thing going on. Like, we're not going to get non-stop paramedic team and their
and we've
abductors.
also gotten some stills that they've posted on, or that I've seen posted online of, like, there's a fire, and I just pulled up the synopsis, and it says, a bank robbery, an apartment fire, and a pregnant woman lost in a parking garage. are the seemingly unconnected calls to which the 126 responds. Then
so they're all connected.
They're going to be connected. So
I'm guessing that the bank robbery is what they're working on, like Gabriel and Carlos.
And then the team.
Though I don't know a lot about Texas Rangers, but that's my guess. And so it's connected.
Yeah,
and that's linking in my theory.
Yeah, so I have a funny feeling that more than likely Carlos and his dad are working on the bank robbery case. The apartment fire is set on fire by the people who robbed the bank, and the people who robbed the bank are the ones that now have TK, Nancy, and Tommy, because one of their guys got hurt probably in the fire. And
I mean, plot twist would be if the paramedic team was left in the burning building.
Yeah,
but I doubt that's what's going to happen.
I really think
but if it does
like
happen,
very,
I'm going to call it. I told you so.
No, I don't see that because
I don't
like,
think it's
just
going to
like
happen,
the
though.
pictures, like the guy looks like he has, like he almost looks like I don't know, he's just like I don't know, like there's just a certain injury that I see, and then we know that like TK's celebrating his 1 year sobriety, so there's going to be a big I don't like how people are like,
so
I think
which, like,
that like when they get kidnapped, the paramedic team, that TK is probably gonna show up late to his party. I'm like, that is the dumbest thing. I'm sorry, but that's stupid. Okay, if they were really missing, Owen would figure it out way before then. He's not gonna leave without his son being there, you know?
Well, I kind of thought maybe, you know, because you know how they have parties at the firehouse. I was thinking, well, maybe if they're planning on surprising TK with a 1 year sobriety, and then when the ambulance hasn't come back from a call and Owen calls Grace to check in, and she's like, they've gone off the grid, we can't find them.
I mean, okay, that's plausible. What I'm calling like BS on is like the theories that it's because TK's relapsed.
Oh yeah, he's not.
And I thought that's what you guys were talking about, because I've been seeing those circulating. I'm like, it's fully possible that he's late to his party because of the abduction. I don't know necessarily, but I feel like that's something that'll happen beginning or end of the episode. I don't feel like it's going to be mixed up in everything. I feel like he's going to turn up to his party on time. A little banged up.
I think that whole storyline is a little too obvious. Like, I'll actually be mad if that happens, because that's really stupid. That happens on every damn show, and I'm not here for it.
The turn up late to a party because of the abduction thing? Or the relapse? Yeah. Okay.
The only possible thing I could think of, which is totally out there and probably not near gonna even happen, would be if TK gets hurt, is in pain, and Tommy, not realizing he's a recovering addict,
I don't think so.
Something for the pain, and gives him something that's an opioid.
It's public knowledge, and then also
I don't think so.
I feel like
it's
unless
public
he was
knowledge.
knocked out, he would say like, "Yo, like I'm an addict." Like, no, like, and also like I don't know.
Also, that does not count as a relapse. Like if someone gives him an opioid accidentally, he did not take it himself. That doesn't necessarily count as anything. It's still in his system, and it's still like a derailment in a way, but it's not a relapse, and it ain't on him.
I don't know.
I don't feel like that's what happens, but it is a possibility.
Like I said, I was like,
everything's a
probably
possibility.
way out there, probably not even on the radar. But I was like, it's the only way I could really see him having like quote unquote relapse. But TK's not in a place in his life right now where that's something he's been needing. He had a really bad thing happen. He broke, like, Alex and him split up because of, you know, Alex was cheating on him and all that stuff. The clown. So,
and he was in a bad place.
He's not anymore. He's worked through that.
No, he's got a lovely boyfriend.
Yeah.
There's like family drama going on, but he has gone through so much family drama before. I doubt that's what's going to happen.
And the other thought I had was that I have and if Carlos and his dad are working on a case that's completely unrelated to like one of these things that are together, you know, this might be an opportunity for Carlos to talk to his dad about who TK is when he finds out about this. Or maybe Carlos is with Owen when TK doesn't show up for the party and they figure it out. So they go check things out and find the abandoned van. And then Carlos calls his dad for help.
It's possible.
Maybe.
I mean,
like that is definitely something I've thought of.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm kind of going to really like if they do this. And it's, this I'm talking about is Carlos deciding he wants to tell his dad about TK, but not working up the nerve the entire episode.
Also, there's like
so you just see him like almost say it, but he doesn't.
That Carlos is gonna like show up to like where they're being held and get shot or something, and I'm like, no,
I don't see it either. Like nothing. Okay, I'm going my whole thing here.
Yeah.
Nothing is an impossibility, but I don't see that being a possibility.
Yes, people think that
probability.
There's going to
I don't see it being probable.
Gunshot, and I'm just like, huh? Yeah, exactly.
Which I think people are doing that because this is episode 8, which is exactly a season after TK gets shot.
It's way too predictable, and like I think because they're being held, that people are assuming somebody's gonna get shot.
Like we see TK gets knocked out.
Yeah, we don't.
But I don't know. Like it is
same.
Possible. And honestly, at some point, I was kind of hoping Carlos would get hurt, just so we could see a doting boyfriend. Same. But in this scenario, I don't necessarily want this. And I don't necessarily see it.
Just that to share things. I don't want them to share bullet scars. Just saying. It's bad enough. It's bad enough. Like, TK's already been shot. I don't need Carlos to get shot too.
We don't even know that there's gonna be like a cliffhanger. We don't know. All we know is that Ronan has said that this episode is like a 12 on the emotional level. He is. I love him dearly, but like sometimes
Ronan is a freaking tease, and I love him.
But and the hardest part is like we have like 6 weeks to wait in between this episode and then the next one.
If it's a cliffhanger, I think there's like a fairly good chance it is. I don't know if it's necessarily odd in my mind or for it.
The only cliffhanger I will actually be here for is like something like Carlos opening up to his dad, and then
something popped in mind. I feel like if they do any sort of, and this isn't necessarily cliffhanger, it's just suspenseful, is if they end on when like the people have been arrested and like they're like rescuing the paramedic team. They just kind of fade out and stuff, and you don't get anything till 6 weeks. Like I can kind of see that. I don't know if it'll happen. I don't think it's as probable, but I don't know. There's so many different theories, and I'm like, I can't call one as most likely, other than like some obvious links that seem to be there, but.
I can't honestly see like anything like too detrimental to be like held over us.
Nobody's gonna die. I don't see that.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think anyone's going to have a career-changing injury or get like some heinous crime done to them or anything. It's just going to be a pretty bad situation.
Yeah, and I think
check your expectations, people.
Some of the cliffhangers, we may have some questions we're left with at the end of the episode, like will Gwen and
I think they're going to tell us that. Like I think that we will know.
I feel like we're already at that.
True.
I feel like maybe she's deciding during the last of the episode, or this last episode, and like towards the end we're going to get the answer, which I am so certain it's going to be that she's going back.
And we did get a scene, a behind the scenes clip from Natasha. She shared a picture of her, Cece,
Buttercup, I forgot,
and Lisa with the dog that plays Buttercup. And I'm
it is.
And I'm assuming that's for this episode because it would make sense if they're having a party for TK's 1 year that they might.
Okay, that makes sense. Well, I think everyone was kind of thinking that it was going to be a party for like Gwen and Owen.
Oh,
like when the first Still's first.
I think the party's for.
Oh, Buttercup!
Like,
I
yes,
missed
I'm
you
here
so
for
much.
that. I want it to be there. Yes,
Buttercup will be back.
Buttercup. Okay, I do not want him on.
I'm gonna send one. I want to send one for like my list of characters that I would like to be on as much as possible. Carlos is up there, and so is Buttercup. Honestly,
just send them to your missing poster and just be like, okay, he keeps vanishing.
Yeah.
You keep stealing him.
Reward.
And only loaning back.
Reward.
Give me a reward.
True. Oh.
Yeah, so I just thought about that. I'm like, oh yeah, we got that.
She should.
So we know
I would like
that
a good, like, if she is going to leave that episode, like, as much as I hate Gwen, I really want a good, I don't care about you saying bye to Owen. We don't need to see that. I want a good closing scene between her and TK because I don't want things to like leave off on a bad note. I want.
We have had
like I don't
no solo scene
exactly
between them. Like, give us something.
No, like we.
Cause
Be a mom.
I hate her, but Jane's
Be
a completely
mom.
bad
Come
person.
on now.
And she is TK's mom. I want to see that. Yeah, even if it's, I don't know, just for TK's hospital bed or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
So much potential. And we could go on for hours discussing everything. But, not sure if y'all want to, like, join us for that. Message us on the podcast page
Seriously.
or our Instagrams and just be like, let's talk this out. But we will not go on for the next 3 hours.
I know. I'm nervous, but I'm excited and yeah.
I have a feeling this is going to be up there.
Yeah, I think because it's like
there,
a winter finale,
with,
it has to be like
so.
high stakes, like high standards, like all this like stuff. So I'm holding I don't really have expectations, but I'm expecting good things. But anyways.
Yes. That's all right, honestly.
Thank you guys so much for joining us and listening. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast on Anchor. We are also on Spotify, Apple, and Google Podcasts, and almost anywhere where podcasts can be found. On iTunes, please rate us and leave us a review. It would mean a lot to us. You guys can follow the podcast on our socials at 91LS Roundup on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And you can follow me, Katie, at For the Love of Tarlos on Instagram and at For Love of Tarlos on Twitter.
You can follow me, Grace, at RonanRafa911 on Instagram and at SheepGirl31 on Twitter.
You can follow me, EJ, at 302 on Instagram and Twitter. Bye.
Bye.